It wasn't easy. It never is. Didn't manage to set the world record overnight. Burnt myself in the cold. Fought the weight. Fell 10 times. Got up at 11. The ice taught me that you can keep moving forward, regardless of how many times you slip. Why? Because my passion is on fire, even on thin ice. I am Vishwaraj Jadeja.
So honored to have Mr. Vishwaraj Jadeja on the story truck. I could have given a list of his achievements and his journey right from the start to winning 65 national champions, but we're going to cover everything. And let's go ahead with the first question. So, I want to know, while growing up, what was your first connect to the sporting world or anything related to sports or a pair of skates?
I think for me, I'm the third generation sports person in our family. So it was obvious that I was going to take up sports one way or the other, especially with my grandfather playing hockey for the Gujarat University at the time. He's played with Mr. Dhyanchand, also the great. And then my father and both my aunts also representing, going to the nationals for roller skating at the time. And then yeah, I mean, I grew up with all these sports memorabilia in the house, like medals for my aunt, skates, like medals, incredible amount of medals, because my aunt was national champion for almost 10 years. And then yeah, it was very normal that I was gonna I it was I knew that, hey, I'm gonna take up sports. And I remember walking and roller skating at the same time, so I don't have like a different memory. I remember roller skating as an integral part of my upbringing, and it was just something we did in the house. It was not like, hey, we will do it for sport purpose. It's just like it was a part of the lifestyle, and so
Okay.
yeah.
So was it a positive aspect of the part of your lifestyle, or was it kind of like a pressure that these people have achieved so much, so even I need to get that to that level?
I actually thrive on pressure, right? So for me, if it was, I think at the time initially there was no thought put into it from my parents. Also, it's just like keeping Vishwaraj is very hyperactive. We have to keep him occupied and we have to keep him busy. So that's why sports was a good outlet for them, for me to have. But subsequently, at some point, it just became very serious. And even till date, my mom thinks that it is something which you just do. My parents think it's something which you just have to do in your life. And yeah, nobody looks at it as a job. We just love to do what we do, and that's it. So
So when did it go from being something that you enjoy doing to be something that you will do for the rest of your life?
I think I still enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy it too much at times, I feel. It's just but I think 99 was my first nationals when I was 14. uh, yeah, under 14. So yeah, 1999 was my first roller skating nationals in Chandigarh, which was, I think that was one of those moments when I realized, like, oh, this could be interesting. And in that year, in the state levels, I had won like 3 4 bronze medals. So yeah, that feeling of standing on the podium, it's just something which is incredible.
So, at what time in your life did you get that inspiration to go for ice skating?
A friend of mine, he's a lawyer now. Okay, we were in school together, and he reminded me now in 2017, 16, 17, when we were trying to tackle an issue together. He said, Vishwaraj, do you remember in 2001, we were taking a walk on the grounds, on the field, like running ground. You said that you wanted to do ice skating because it's part of the Olympics, and the roller skating is not. So you'll get to the nationals and then you'll go pursue this dream to go to the Winter Olympics for India for ice skating. I was like, oh wow, that's a long time. And he remembered this. So I always tell people like, no, it was 2006, 7 when I realized like this is going to happen. But no, it was not that. It was earlier than that. So I guess it was obviously there in my mind somewhere that I want to do this. And eventually there was like a benchmark which I had set for myself also, like at least one national medal, national gold, for roller skating, then at least once representing India at the World Championships for roller skating or inline skating. And then probably I'll figure out how to move to ice. And then if 2008 was, everything came together, and that's it. So I guess theoretic, I mean, in my head, I like imaginatively, like it was more like when I was younger, when I was 15, 16, like this is what I'm going to do for my life, pursue the Winter Olympic dreams for India. And yeah, practically it happened in 2008. So yeah.
When did you shift to Netherlands then for
I think
long track ice skating? Yeah.
long track ice skating is something what like cricket is to India. So for example, we have the lockdown over here, everything is closed, supermarkets are open and the ice tracks are open for people to go ice skating. It's like cricket, like, in India,
Yeah.
lockdown was there, but we were still playing the IPL, right? So it is something similar. And that was for me, that was very important. That's why I go to Europe. I mean, go to the Netherlands. And again, when you say shift here, it is not like shifting here. It was just, we don't, India doesn't have an infrastructure for sports, for winter sports in that sense, where you can actually pursue to become an Olympian for ice skating, at least. I will not say for what the other sports, but like for at least for long track ice skating, we don't have, and we still don't, and I don't know when we will have one. So for me, it was very clear. And then secondly, I needed a teacher, a guru. Like we grew up in India with teachers, the idea that the philosophy that you need a guru for what you want to achieve. So for my coach, Wim Nuage, he is Dutch, and he is one of the most educated, like one of the most qualified coaches for the long track ice skating. And yeah, but initially, as an Indian person, you need a visa to be in Europe. And for ice skating, there was nothing like that hey, you can come on a visa for sports, or so then I was studying electrical engineering back home. So like basically that's what we do, right, in India at the time, at least in the 90s and the early 2000s. Now I see more that people are participating in other educational fields, more arts and crafts, and so like that. But in those times, there was only three things: you could be a doctor, engineer,
Very
or
restricted. Yeah.
yeah, you were a doctor, engineer, or a loser. You could be one of those three things. So and yeah, so that basically that's it. And I try to be like, I cleared 12 science, So 12 science, the year I cleared 12 science, I had the national gold medal for roller skating. So sports and education, there was a myth that, hey, you can't sport and get yourself educated. But hello. No.
It is yet a myth that people consider, and they think it's almost impossible, especially with the Indian education system that focuses so much on academics and very less on extracurriculars.
Somebody asks me about it, I don't. I got to the ice skating scene 10 years late. Or actually, let's say, forget 10, 5 years too late. If I had not lost those 5 years in just trying to figure out how to educate myself properly, and, then we would have been 5 years ahead of time. And what I'm going through now could have been already addressed. And now we would have pursued towards more better, not
Right.
better, like
So
more efficient, more optimal pursuit
one more
of.
milestone would have been covered.
Exactly. 65 national records could have been 100 already. Now it's going to take me another 4 years, 5 years to get those last 25 to. Yeah.
So, did you face a culture shock when you went from here to there? And how do you yet constantly deal with being away from loved ones, like while training and all of that?
Uh, I think in cultural shock, not per se, because I grew up in a big city. So the big city environment is very much like the big city environment. Everywhere is the same. But I think the bigger, for me, the more cultural shock was within the sports, in the sense that how they perceive the sports, how professional they are, how professionally it is pursued. Otherwise, everything else was fine for me. It is like there was not a big issue. Like if you're a speed skater in Holland, they embrace you with all their support there is. And trust me, if I was not in Holland, in the Netherlands, pursuing this, I would have quit already for a long time ago. Because the sports is perceived in a certain way in this country, in the Netherlands, I was able to pursue it for such a long time. I will be able to pursue it for a longer time, and I have been doing this. Yeah, I remember my first couple of weeks at the ice track. Their question was, "You're from India?" Yeah, okay. So everybody, there's a billion people, a billion of you. So what's new there? Like, oh, you're an ice skater. Like, oh yeah, okay, that's interesting. Now, how do you want to do this? That was the second question, and then the third question was, okay, so you want to do this? These are the things you might have to do. All right. But you have to remember, you're from India. So people are going to call you crazy and insane. You have to embrace that. You have to accept that.
So you had that constant allegation or something like that.
Not allegation. And mostly from India, not from anywhere else. In Europe, it was the most normal thing I could do. Like, oh, Indian ice skater, fantastic. Let's do this. And back home, it took me a while to at least convey, make people understand,
Right.
that, hey, this is the real thing. This can actually happen, So what happens is, then I had to like decide, like, hey, I want to move to Europe. How do I start? Where do I start? And in that year, I was also supposed to represent India at the World Championships for roller skating. I applied for that college to study computer science, and I got in. And on paper, I was not that strong because I had just passed 12 science, and I was kicked out already by three different colleges in India already because I was doing too many sports. Again, that was also one of those things, like convincing an engineering college to let you
Pursue.
pursue. And especially like sometimes I wonder, like private universities where you have to pay so much, you still need their permission to pursue sports. That is so weird. You're paying so much money, you're taking a student loan to pay that. And on top of it, you have to take permission to pursue your own goals.
Right.
So I feel all those things, like when you like kind of dissect these things, my mind was blown. Like once I got out of India, I was able to give an objective view to a lot of observation to a lot of things, and
new perspectives, right?
New perspective, and then I realized, what was I doing with my life? It's just like, why couldn't I just? And luckily, I grew up in a household where we had all the freedom in the world to pursue sports, to pursue arts and crafts, but also to get an education properly. So that was something which,
as an elite athlete, you are constantly pushing yourself.
Right.
Once you constantly push yourself, there will be times when you go overboard and injure yourself. And when you go overboard, you injure. So it is like a chicken and an egg story. Are you pushing yourself to improve? Yes, then you will get injured. When you get injured, that is when the true test start. How can you keep it calm, keep it together, and again start pushing yourself? So I've had injuries all over my body a couple of times. Cracked patella, herniated back, dislocated ribs, broken wrist, dislocated shoulder, concussion, you name it, it's been there. So it's just basically you have to find a meaning in what you're trying to do, and you constantly need to keep finding that. Keep looking for that, and that will keep you going. And obviously, there's so many doubts most of the times because, yeah, Indian ice skater, that is something which there's no go-to book. There's like literally you're writing the book as you go along. End up, for example, one of the near-death experiences to be saying is like we were in the Himalayas at 4,500 meters next to Tsomoriri Lake, and I overdid myself a little bit, and I was out of oxygen. Like I could not breathe. There's lack of oxygen in my body, and then I had to be given oxygen, and that was like the nearest hospital was like 4 hours away, kind of, So it was just one of those things which you don't think about when you plan, and then you realize, wow, that was very, very sketchy.
You just spoke about going to the Himalayas, and I know a lot of people go over there to find their true purpose or to find themselves. So what was your reason of going?
2018 was the initial idea and the goal for participating at the Winter Olympics. But due to a series of crashes during the summer training, I could not walk. I mean, there's a lot of things happened. So I couldn't even race in that season. So I was depressed. I was in a dark hole, very dark place. And one of my friends, one of my musician friends over here, he said, like, maybe you should go to the Himalayas to find yourself. And I was like, okay. A month later, I just prepared to go to Pangong Lake to go ice skate on one of the first highest frozen lake. That was my first trip. We were able to find a sponsor. We were able to find support and all of those things. And he was my friend who recommended this. He was a bit in shock. He was like, yeah, I meant go in the summer, not in the winter. It's cold there. I'm like, oh yeah, but well, I'm going now. And because again, The sport is so big in Holland. I did not want to be in the Netherlands when the Winter Olympics was going on because it will constantly remind me of what I'm missing out on. So in those days, I was literally in Pangong, on Pangong Lake, away from connection, network, everything, just me and two of my closest friends. We just skating there. I was skating there. They were filming, and yeah, we made a documentary about it. I'll send you the link if you want.
Sure, I will attach the link down in the description box as well. I just saw the documentary; it's amazing.
Oh yeah, you
And
did. Okay.
I did. Pangong Lake is 134 kilometers, I learned, stretching from
Yeah,
India all the way to China.
China.
It's
Yeah.
one of the highest frozen lakes with 4,350 meters. So
Yes.
that's amazing.
Yeah. It was like there was nobody there. Literally nobody there. You're on this big frozen lake, and you look around, and it's
I see.
surreal.
Yeah.
It's just so surreal. It feels like you're on Mars, kind of.
So, what do you feel at that point if you're holding the national flag on one of the highest frozen lakes in the world? What goes on in your mind at that time?
It's also funny because that flag you must have seen that has been with me for 10 years almost. When I left India in 2008, left in the sense when I started pursuing this dream, a very close friend of mine from school gave me this flag, like, hey, and that has been traveling with me through, like, I've lost most of my belongings in the process, but the flag has always been there with me. So I was just very emotional to be in India on a frozen lake skating, basic. As I was really emotional and yeah, happy, elation. So you're happy, you're sad, all the mixed of emotions and
Mixed emotions, right?
because you can't prepare for these kind of things.
Coming back to the scenario in India, so what is it like to get into such an unconventional career in Indian society?
It is quite special, I would say. It transitions from is he crazy to what is he doing to how is it possible to what is going on to what will people say to okay, what will people say was not so much of an issue that much, but still, how is he going to survive? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if something bad happens? He will not be able to have a secured future. What about the future? To oh wow, a medal at the international races. Wow. And then okay, kind of still trying to accept, and still it's the same. Like people are grappling with the idea. Like one of the leading magazines of India, when I did the Pangong Lake and the Tsomoriri Lake 2 years in a row, we had gone to them to, let's say, cover my story. And their reaction was like, yeah, but you've never won an international medal, so we don't want to do it. And then this year we got back, got in touch with them again. And I was like, well, I won 4 medals at the Winter Games Masters, a multi-sport event where no Indian has even participated before. Okay, then they did a full page front and back, and it's a basic situation where you need to keep on doing what you do, and you can't expect people to understand it because first of all, you also have to understand what you're doing, and that is also one of the biggest challenges of the youth today. So at the end of the day, it's not the people, it is again, I go back to what I said earlier. If you're motivated enough, you will find a way. Non-performers always end up playing the victim, I say. So I never wanted to feel like a victim. I always want to focus on what can I do to keep doing what I do.
Right.
Instead of blaming anyone, for example.
Oh, what is your view on the typical way India as a country glorifies cricket or kabaddi or something like that, and the lesser known sports are always behind the curtain? So, even while growing up, you must have seen in textbooks, there's always a picture of famous cricketers and sportsmen of India, but there is no one from a lesser known sport, like supposing ice speed skating, or something like hockey. Hockey also, though it's a national sport, it's very.
Again, the governing bodies of these sports are doing a great job at promoting, nurturing the sports and the talent. That is why we keep hearing about them more.
Right.
So again, and plus, we don't have other heroes than cricketers, do we? In the sports. maybe if you do a little bit of research, you will know more about it. Maybe you guys did the good research, you found me, and then
Right.
right. And cricket again, as traditionally an old sport. I mean, I don't blame the sport at all. At all. It is the governing bodies of respective sports are doing a good job at promoting and nurturing their sports and the talent, and that is what you see the result. Imagine if all the sports are doing that, we'd have a different scenario
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
1.5 billion people, and we don't even manage. I mean, you can count medals in one hand every time we go to the Olympics. Do you know how frustrating that is for as an athlete for me? How infuriating it is. Let's say last 6 Winter Olympics, like last 6 Winter Olympics, you can count on one hand how many athletes have participated for India. Like every year there would be one guy, Shiva Keshwan. I know him luckily now, Arjun Award winner. He's been participating for India for 6 years. You know, the only other person who's participated at so many Olympics has been Leander Pace, which is at 7 Olympics. So, I mean, that tells us enough about. So, I mean, my view is insignificant. Again, I will, because I'm a small sport. I'm somebody from a very small, obscure sport in Indian scenario. So all I can say is, well, there is a lot of potential. I'd say there's a lot of potential. People like you know, who are asking the right questions for a change, which is very heartwarming. And that is what is important. Like if we are starting to ask the right questions, I think the right answers, we'll end up finding the right answers. But if we are not asking the right questions, what do you expect?
If anyone's watching this and anyone's inspired to get into the same sport as you are, what advice would you give them? What path should they follow?
The more crazier the dream and the more crazier the goal, the more fun it's going to be. So make sure you pursue that.
Right.
The process itself is so enlightening. I mean, I'm glad I didn't go to university, and this 10 years has been my university, or this 12 years has been my university. The things I've learned about entrepreneurship, things I've learned about logic, things I've learned about logic, things I've learned about people. It's incredible. Things, how to pitch to companies. 120 companies now have rejected my proposal for sponsorship. How to deal with government bodies, how to deal with sports organizations, how to deal with sports NGOs, sports foundations, you know, what can happen, what can go wrong, what to expect, what not to expect. And in spite of all of that, you still have the hope that at some point it'll all be sorted. I think that is what keeps you going. And I think that's it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to pursue ice skating to, you know, go through this journey. It could be, let's say, kabaddi from somewhere, some small village, somebody wants to pursue kabaddi. Just running, for example, you know, it's a small thing. So I keep telling people it's not about the ice skating, it's about the sport you're doing and being good at that. That is very basic, and that is it. And then maybe, okay, why did I pursue ice skating? Because that seemed logical to me at the time, that hey, I've done roller skating for such a long time. And then I was prepared to do everything which it needed, you know, sleeping on couches, sleeping on friends' couches, sleeping on train stations, you know, for a prolonged period of time. All of those things. If you're prepared for it, go do it. Getting wet in the snow and the rain, cycling every day to the ice track and back, 10,000 kilometers a year of cycling, being told that, oh, you're not Indian anymore because you're living abroad, and all of those things, you know. So it's just, you just have to be prepared for the worst and expect the best. Basically, that's it.
Yeah.
And giving up is absolutely not a choice
Not
and an option for me, at least. And for the young people, I'd say, what should I say to the young people, man? The young people are very enlightened right now in India. I'm very happy about that. I'm very proud of that, to be honest. But yeah, let's just say the young people should at least go run every day for 15 minutes. Physically go running. That's it. That's a small thing you could do.
right. So, along with all this, what is your greatest learning that the sport has given you? Something that has impacted your life?
I realized that from start to finish, you're always alone. You have to deal with yourself the most as a human being. If you see subjectively, objectively, you're born alone and you're dying alone. You might have people around you, And similarly for long track speed skating, we have the same. We are two people running against each other. So it's like a race against the clock. Life is a race against the clock, right? So long track ice skating just keeps on reminding me that every time I'm on the start line, like, okay, start to finish, you're on your own, do your best, or you lose. Or when you look back at that race, you'll regret and you don't want to do that. So I guess, wow.
I also wanted to ask, what is the symbolic importance to you for supposing snow or a pair of skates or ice or your jersey or the flag? What is the importance? Not something known to us, something special, unique to you.
I think for the Indian flag, which I said, which I've been carrying for such a long time, that has been one of the most important things I've carried around for a long time. So symbolically, you can say that I've been carrying the country in my heart and in my bag throughout the process. And that is how much I love the country, love my country, love what I do. I mean, skates and all of those things are tools
Right.
to achieve what we want to do. Yeah.
What goes on in your mind before you start a race, just before
Nothing. Blank. If I'm thinking something, then it'll go wrong. So I have learned over a period of time, I learned to make it go blank. Otherwise, you go mad. I leave everything on the door of the ice track, go in, finish what I have to do, and come out. But this process took me a long time, and I've been able to do it successfully for the last 3 years only. Before that, it was crazy.
Completely focused, right?
Completely focused. Yeah, focus comes naturally once that happens.
Right.
Just being there, like being in that moment, being present.
And my last question for today is, what are your future ambitions and goals?
The future is now, so I want to make sure that right now I'm able to train and prepare as good as possible for the 2022 Winter Olympics. And then there are certain ideas and some plans which I have floated and which have been very well received to develop the sport in the country of India and in the Himalayas, in the mountains, and all of those things. So I mean, I hope I'm able to do that. So then, first, again, for the next 3, 4, 5 years, I still want to pursue the sport at the highest level, and then eventually develop it and get other athletes from India to pursue this.
So how can we as viewers support your cause?
Send a message of congratulations or good luck once in a while. That's it.
Okay.
Send your blessings and send your wishes.
Sure. I hope everyone hearing this does that. Yes.
Indian athletes are motivated enough. You just have to support them a little bit. That's it. People ask me always, like, what do you think Indian athletes need? Like, just a little bit support. He's an Indian athlete. He's motivated enough. Because I remember one foreign coach telling, I saw this interview about a foreign coach for, was it gymnastics or something? Like, he would say, like, hey, in India, you have two things. If you're an athlete, you're pursuing two sports. One is the sports itself, and the other sport is to exist in that sport.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, that is so true. So as an athlete, I guess Indian athletes, if they are athletes, they're motivated enough. They don't, they're fine. Just encourage them and send them some good wishes.
So thank you so much. I'm done with my questions. I had an amazing time. Thank you.
Wonderful.